Every tale hides a spark of inspiration. Welcome to the Inspire Tale. Long ago, in a small American town, there lived an old potter named George. He was well known in his neighborhood for his honesty, good character, and wisdom. He had a son, David, who had now grown up into a young man. One day, David said to his father, "Dad, I want you to find me a good girl and arrange my marriage." The old potter replied gently, "Son, right now I don't have enough money to arrange a wedding. Tomorrow take our cow to the city market and try to sell it. If you can sell it for a good price, I will know you are ready to make life decisions. With that money, we'll prepare for your wedding." David was happy. The next morning, he set out with the cow toward the city. At the market, a man came up and said, "Hey, young man, how much for this goat?" David laughed and replied, "This isn't a goat, it's a cow, and I'll sell it for $50. The man smirked and said, "Well, if this is really a cow, then name your price. But I think it's a goat. If someone buys it for $50, I'll pay $60. Then he walked away. David got confused. Soon another man came and asked the same thing, "How much for this goat?" Then another, and another. Everyone kept insisting it was a goat. Hearing this over and over, David began doubting himself. Maybe it really is a goat and I've been wrong all along. Finally, someone said, "Kid, you're not from around here. This goat looks weak, but I'll help you out. I'll give you $6. Another said, "I'll give you $7. A third man shouted, "I'll give you $10. David happily sold the cow, which he now believed was a goat, for just $10. He spent $5 on groceries, $2 on food, and returned home with only $3 left. When he told his father, the old potter sighed and said, "Son, they tricked you. But don't worry, I'll teach them a lesson." The next day, George took his donkey to the city. He secretly placed 10 silver coins in its mouth. When the donkey ate hay, the coins fell out. The tricksters were stunned. "This donkey spits out money. We must buy it." They bought it for $1,000, but after keeping it locked for 30 days, the donkey died. They realized they had been fooled. Furious, they returned to George, but George had another trick ready. He tied a fox cub outside his shop and told his wife, "When I ask, tell them you knew because the fox told you." When the tricksters came, George acted as if he was getting secret messages from the fox. Impressed, they bought the fox for $100. The next day, they tried using it for messages. Nothing happened. They realized again that George had fooled them. Now in anger, they tied George in a sack and carried him to throw into the river. On the way, they rested. A shepherd passed by. George quickly whispered to him, "The mayor's daughter has chosen me for marriage, and that's why they're carrying me in this sack." The shepherd got excited. "Man, I wish I had that luck." George said, "Then take my place." The shepherd agreed and went into the sack. The tricksters later threw the sack into the river. Thinking they had gotten their revenge, they left. But when they returned to town, they saw George walking with a large herd of sheep. "Where did you get these?" they asked. George smiled. "When you threw me in the river, I landed in a valley full of sheep. The chief gave me this whole herd as a gift." Greedy, the tricksters begged him to show the spot. George agreed but warned, "When I jumped, I raised one hand out of the water. That's the sign. When you see it, jump in." One by one, the tricksters leapt into the river and drowned. George returned home safely, richer than ever, and arranged David's wedding. From then on, they lived happily and peacefully,